Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to the second episode of Pressing Matters. I'm bringing you this episode slightly later than I wanted to, but I'm here to discuss the Champions League final between Manchester City and Inter Milan. As you would probably understand, it is a very interesting match because of Manchester City and what they are as a team in Europe and at the domestic level. But there are some interesting aspects of Inter Milan as well that we have to keep in mind, because this is not a very straightforward match. I am going to bring you my perspective on it. I'm going to give you the details of what I think is going to play out in the match. I will give you a proper preview in this video, and I will also give you my prediction. So we're going to start now. As you can see, I have my laptop open and I have the formations of both teams and some of the relevant stats that we might want to discuss. Keep in mind, this is just my opinion, so I cannot predict what is going to happen 100%, but I can give you a general picture of how the match will play out. We're going to start off with Inter Milan, and the reason why I want to do that is because a lot of people are writing Inter Milan off. They have already assumed that there is no chance that Inter are going to be able to compete with a team like Man City, which has been very dominant in England and at the European stage this season. Yes, they have already won the FA Cup and they have won the Premier League as well, so they are coming into this match with the purpose of winning the treble, which is both the domestic trophies, the league, the FA Cup, and then the European Championship as well. Does that mean that they have a rite of passage and they're just going to walk over Inter Milan? No, not at all. Inter Milan is a very interesting team, and in today's climate, if you are a newer football fan who has not been watching football for a very long time because you're quite young, you would probably not understand this, but give it a shot. So Inter is a very old school team, not in the sense where they have old players and they do things in a very annoying and harrying manner where they're just troubling people and kicking them in the shins. No, what I mean by that is the way Inter approach the game, the way their coach Inzaghi approaches the game is a throwback to an older era. Why I say that is apparent in the way that Inter positions its formations and its players. So Inter play a 3-5-2, which is a very interesting proposition, and at first glance it might not look like an old school formation, but we have to look into how these players function together. So I'm going to tell you which player plays in which position first, and then we're going to get into the breakdown of how they coordinate. So Inter has Andre Onana as the goalkeeper, who is a brilliant keeper and is probably one of the best keepers at this point in Europe. Why I say that is, not only is Onana a big, strong, powerful, capable, athletic shot stopper, he also has the ability to distribute the ball very well. So he can put the ball where it needs to be on the pitch, no matter how far his player is from him, and he has that sweeper keeper ability. So if you look at a keeper from the key attributes of what you would want from one, Onana has all of those attributes. Whether you want him to be an old school shot stopper who stays in the goal, or you want him to come out and sweep when the centre backs are higher up and somebody tries to make a run behind them, or if you want him to play ball distributor and basically become an 11th outfield player, he can do all of that. And it is a huge part of why Inter made it to the final this year. Now, the three defenders are also quite interesting, because in the center you have Acerbi, and Acerbi has a very interesting story at a personal level. I'm not going to get into that. If you are interested, please go read about it, because he has had some health issues, very major health issues, and he has beat them twice and still plays at a very high level. So I respect that a lot. And Acerbi has a lot of experience. He is flanked on the left by Bastone and on the right by Damian. And what that brings is very interesting, because Bastoni brings a lot of athleticism, a lot of youthful capability to the defense, while Damian is another very, very experienced defender. So they have a quite an interesting mix, and it works very well. If you would look at this team on paper, it would look like a mishmash of average players with one odd good player put in the middle somewhere. But in reality, when they play together, they function exceedingly well. If we go to the midfield, now this is very interesting. If you look at the formation, in its stillness, you see 5 players in a straight line, and you would think that it is quite an ineffective formation because you don't have too many people going up and attacking. It might do well if they're sitting back and defending as 5 people in front of the 3 defenders. But the reality is, you have DeMarco on the left, and DeMarco can actually bomb down the left flank as, say, Chilwell would or Cancelo used to. But he can also add to the defense very, very well. So when needed, DeMarco can come back and help the defense become a 5 instead of a 3, which gives them a lot of solidity. If he is not doing that, he can also just stay in the midfield and become one of those players that helps cycle the ball and put it forward very, very quickly, which is a part of Inter's game. Now, to his right is Henrik Mkhitaryan. So Mkhitaryan is one of those players who is tasked with going forward. And while DeMarco goes on the wider left channel if he is going forward, Mkhitaryan goes towards the half space. So he is not going right behind the striker. He is not going onto the wing. He generally moves into the space between them and tries to attack the D-top from that angle and try and get inwards towards the goal. He also is somebody that their forwards can ping the ball off of and play off of to build runs and go forward. So Mkhitaryan has had a resurgence in this Inter team from his time at United, and I'm not going to get into those details, but he has done very, very well, as you could have seen in Inter's match against AC Milan, where he did score a goal. So Mkhitaryan is a very interesting character to watch. In the middle, though, you have Calhanoglu. Now, the interesting thing about Calhanoglu is that he sits right in front of the back 3, the 3 defenders in the back. And he is the first line that you have to cross when you are in Inter's half and you've gone past their forward players. And to get to Inter's goal, not only do you have to go through their back 3 defenders, you have to go through Onana as well once you're done with that. But before all of that, you have to get past Calhanoglu, who is in the middle of it and will not allow you to go through very, very easily. Why I say that is, Inter will be prepared to let Grealish on the left run on the wing. They will be prepared to let Bernardo Silva on the right run on the wing. But they're going to be very compact in the middle. So you can try and attack them as City, you can try and attack them from the sides, but they will not let you come through the middle. Because Inter have to make City predictable so that they know exactly what City is going to do and they can work around that. If there is a situation where City's midfielders, so I will tell you which players I am talking about. So if there is a situation where City's midfielders, who are John Stones and Rodri at this point, get the ball and they get to play with the likes of Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Gundogan, Grealish, or even Erling Haaland, who will always be further up, and they get through the middle, it will be very difficult for Inter to handle that. Because if they're getting broken down through the middle, they will definitely not be able to protect their flanks and they will get overrun very, very, very easily. In that situation, I think in the first half itself, City will probably score 2 or 3 goals and the game will be over. So Inter have to do what they usually do, but with a little more discipline. So they have to make sure that they do not let anybody approach them through the middle of the park. If you go back to Inter's formation, so Calhanoglu has Barella on the right. If you're starting from the left, he is the 4th player in the 5. And Barella has a very similar role to Henrik Mkhitaryan. He's going to bridge the half space between the right flank and where the centre forward would be if they had a centre forward, which they do not. Let's be clear on that. And then you have Denzel Dumfries on the extreme right of the midfield, who is an excellent player. He actually is supposed to be a right back similar to Reece James, but he has started doing very well in a more forward position and with fewer defensive responsibilities when they're attacking. So please watch Mkhitaryan, please watch Denzel Dumfries in the midfield 5 of Inter. They're going to be very interesting players, and they might be the ones that do something productive that allows the forwards to score. And then we are going to go to the forwards, and here we have $1 million question. So we all know that Inter's forwards are Edin Dzeko and Lautaro Martinez. We also know that Inter has a very set system of substitutions, and Inzaghi will use all 5 of his substitutions usually at the very same time that he does in every match. So you know that Edin Dzeko is going to come off around the 60th minute, and Romelu Lukaku is going to take his place in the attack. Why is this interesting? It's interesting because this allows Edin Dzeko to do what he does best, which is be a hold-up player. Let Inter, when it is countering, when it gains possession while it was being attacked, it allows Inter to ping the ball up to Edin Dzeko, who can, even if he's alone and surrounded by defenders, hold the ball up and not lose possession and allow Inter to launch a counter attack. So he basically is like a basket. When Inter are in trouble and they're defending and they're very compact, and all of a sudden they get a chance to get the ball and put it up the field, they just drop it right onto Edin Dzeko, and they know that if it lands in the basket, it is safe for a short while, and then we can bomb forward very quickly and launch a counter, which is exactly what you need to do if you want to beat City. And this is what I meant when I said Inter is a very old school team, because they play like an old school team. They will absorb pressure and then come right at you when the moment allows it. The other forward is Lautaro Martinez, and he is also a very interesting player because he is not an out and out forward per se. He is not the guy that you will depend on to muscle City's defense and control the ball up forward, but he is the guy who is going to help Dzeko make runs, and more often than not, while Dzeko is holding the ball, he is the man who is going to try and go behind the defensive line of City, who usually come very far up the field when they're attacking, and try and get an opening towards goal. So this is a very interesting dynamic to watch. The question here is, a lot of people have suggested that Romelu Lukaku should start because he might be in better form. I understand that. I can get where people are coming from. But here is the thing. Romelu Lukaku being effective in the previous few matches and doing very well comes down a lot to the fact that he arrives in the game at the 60th minute when he is fresh and the opponent's defense is tired. He is not as fast as he used to be during his first stint at Inter. He has gained a lot of weight. What is still in his favor though is that he is a big strong boy, and he has the ability to muscle probably any defender in the world barring one or two. Why I'm saying that is because when the opponent's defense is tired, if Lukaku can muscle a player and get an opening, get say 10 yards on the defense, he has the ability to score. But he will not be able to do that if he starts the game from the beginning. Not only because the opponents will have fresh defenders who are not tired yet, but also because he does not have the pace to mitigate that. So he doesn't have the pace to run past a fresh defender consistently over 60 minutes or 90 minutes. Which is why it is important to have Dzeko in the beginning, because Dzeko is a very stable player. He might not be as physical in open play as Lukaku, but he is quite physical from free kicks and from corners. So he has the ability to push defenders around and make space during set pieces. Once he is done badgering the defense and giving them problems and holding the ball up and making link-up play happen, then you can bring in Lukaku, and then a tired Man City defense which will exert itself because it will play possessively, it will play the ball around and run a lot. Then that tired Man City defense has to deal with a big strong bloke who has no qualms about pushing them around and throwing them around. That is a very interesting dynamic, and I'm very, very intrigued by it. I genuinely want to see how that goes. So if Inter manage to survive the first half without getting a goal scored against them, then Inter genuinely have a chance. If Inter manage to score a goal before City does, then they will probably see a lot of pressure coming their way, but they are capable of dealing with it. Compared to most modern teams, they're set up very well to deal with it. I think from my perspective, that is a good enough analysis of how Inter will play and how they go about their business. I'm going to switch over to Man City now. Now, Man City are favourites to win this match, and you can't really deny them that, considering what they've done this season and how well they've played, especially towards the latter end of their Premier League season, where they went on such an insane run that Arsenal pretty much gave up and capitulated and said, okay, fine, just go win it. We will see you next year. Considering all of that, it makes sense. It is completely understandable that they're favourites. Now, if there was ever a team that played a style that was meant to hurt City and beat them, especially in a cup competition where you're only going to face the other team once in the final, Inter has it. So what are Man City going to do? Well, hopefully Pep Guardiola is not going to do what people usually say is him overthinking and changing things in a final and then ruining the cohesion of the team. It might happen. I don't really see him as him overthinking, because when Pep Guardiola changes something in the team, he does it for a reason, and 95% of the time it works. If once in a while it doesn't work, you can't call him an idiot for doing what he does, because it works most of the time. So yeah, regardless, I do not think he will make any changes, because the system right now fits City very, very well. It fits them to the T, and it allows them to use their attributes to its fullest. Let's go through the team and their formation. So if you look at the formation on paper, you will see that City play a 3-2-4-1, which is not true, because there's a little bit of nuance that goes into understanding the formation. If you've seen City play, you know that they will probably have Ederson in goal. Maybe Ortega might come in. I do not think that is likely. But their back three, according to the formation on paper, has Ruben Diaz in the middle, who is the centre back, Kyle Walker on the right, who is traditionally a right back or right wing back, but here he plays as a right centre back, and then Marouane Akanji on Ruben Diaz's left. What we are missing out is, in this formation, you see that in front of the back three, there are two midfielders. And who are those two midfielders? You have Rodri on the left, who is a holding midfielder who has played a role in a very similar position for City over the years. But on the other side, partnering him, on the right side, you have John Stones, who is a centre back. Remember that. Now, why is John Stones so important? Here is why he is important. John Stones, when City are being attacked, will fall back into the defence and become the second centre back. So he will give City a back four when they are getting attacked. This is the change that Pep Guardiola made in City's playing, City's tactics to accommodate Erling Haaland, and I will explain why. When City are attacking, they have three defenders. They have their forward line. So basically they have Erling Haaland as a lone striker up front and four people behind him. But since City were playing a false nine before Haaland arrived, and Haaland is now up top and he's not going to come back as a false nine to pick up the ball and then try and play with other people. What this effectively does is it takes out one person from your build-up play in attack. To mitigate that, Pep Guardiola has taken one of his defenders and made him a midfielder. So you have that one person still in attack. So you still have that numerical advantage. But you also have Erling Haaland up top. So you can put the ball to him, and basically now you have a double threat. So it's not just that the false nine is going to come further backwards to take the ball, and now you don't have to worry about the forward up front, so the centre backs are free there. You still have to worry about the forward up front, but you also have just as many people attacking you behind that forward, which is a very interesting thing. John Stones will fall back into the back three and make it a back four, play as the other centre back next to Ruben Diaz in defence, and then move forward and become a midfielder when they're attacking. And him and Rodri have some of the best players in their positions playing in front of them. So they have a 4 in front of them. They have Bernardo Silva on the right, who needs no introduction. I think he is the closest that City could have come to David Silva when he left, because he has a lot of finesse, he has a lot of class, he can play in many different positions. And people might say that Mahrez should be playing in his place because he scored and did very well in the cup match lately. But Bernardo Silva is the right person for the job because he brings more to the table. He is not that predictable and he can do a lot of things that hurt the other team. To his left, in the middle two, you have Kevin De Bruyne, right? And Ilkay Gundogan. Now, if you watched if you have watched United's previous game when they played against City, you know what Ilkay Gundogan has done to them. He scored from a beautiful volley in the first 16 seconds of the match, and then he scored the second goal as well. Granted, it wasn't a very good shot. David De Gea should probably have saved it, but still, he scored 2 goals in that game, and that game is a good example of what Ilkay Gundogan does. He either floats around the D or he sprints in at the right moment to receive a ball and score, which is very difficult to counter as a defensive team. Kevin De Bruyne, again, needs no introduction. He is a player with a lot of finesse. He has a relatively good level of physicality. He can drop the ball on a penny from literally anywhere on the pitch. He can shoot, he can make plays, he can do it all. So he is going to be an interesting character to watch. And then on the left, you have Jack Grealish. Now, Jack Grealish did not have a very good game in the FA Cup final, especially because he gave away a penalty, but we will ignore that. That is besides the point. In the outfield itself, he did not have a very good game. But Jack Grealish has the ability to get fouled very often and give you set pieces. He has the ability to dribble and build attacks very well. The only thing that he is lacking right now is a genuine goal scoring threat, which is why Inter will try and put Bernardo Silva on the right, just on the wing, and not let him come inwards, and Jack Grealish on the left, just on the wing, and not let him come inwards. So they will keep a very compact centre and try and protect the goal. And then we have the mad Norwegian baby eating titan up front, Erling Haaland. Now, we all know that Erling Haaland is a mad goal scorer, yes, but he has not scored in the last 7 or 8 matches he's played, if I'm not wrong, which is a drought of sorts. And if Inter can manage to score 1, maybe 2 goals if things go well, and Erling Haaland does not manage to score, Inter can actually stay compact, like I said, stay in front of the goal, park the bus, and actually make City's life hell. So I think this is a very important game for Erling Haaland, because he was specifically brought into Man City to make them a threat to the Champions League. If City do not manage to win this game and Haaland does not manage to have an effect on it, it will raise question marks about Erling Haaland and his efficacy. Granted, he has scored a lot of goals in the Premier League, but this is the holy grail. Man City win Premier Leagues every other year, right? They have not won a Champions League. So this is something to watch out for. My prediction is that City will win, although my hope is that Inter will win, because not only do I like what Inter do and how far they have carried themselves, I also see that Inter has a lot more heart compared to City. City is more of a machine, a marauding machine that just wants to win. Inter are going to approach the game with a lot of heart and a lot of hope. And if Inter win, it will be a far better story. Most importantly, if Inter win, I can laugh at City as a Chelsea fan and flip them off and say, yeah, just keep winning Premier Leagues. You are not at the same level as us, even if we have a bad season. So I genuinely am looking forward to this match very, very much. And I'm going to watch it tonight. I hope you watch it as well. After the match, I will try and get you a review. I know that this video is coming out very, very late because the match is tonight itself. But this is as good as it's going to get. This is as good a review as you could probably expect, considering the fact that this is going to be a wild match. I genuinely believe that the things that I've spoken of are going to play out the way they are. And now it is up to some form of individual brilliance from both teams that is going to set them apart and decide the winner. Thanks a lot. I hope you enjoyed the video. Do like, subscribe, comment, share, do all of those things. And let me know what your opinions are on the matter. Let me know who you think will win. Let me know if you think I'm wrong about some tactical detail. Let me know all of those things. Thanks a lot and enjoy the match.